Also joining us on the show is Nitin Gupta, co-founder, CEO, Atero. He's with us here in the studios. Thank you very much, sir. Your company deals with e-waste, recycling e-waste, and that has been also a conversation that this country is increasingly having. As we grow, as we move towards, sustainability, and as we enhance the use of AI in our lives, the use of, everything electronics, the conversation around how to dispose that electronics also continues to be a point of concern, especially by the way of how we deal with our environment. We are becoming increasingly conscious, and those choices are also reflecting in that consciousness. Tell us about how the industry has been doing in the past 1 year, and what sort of growth and momentum are you expecting in the year to go ahead?
Yeah, so Shweta, just a point of clarification there. The electronic waste recycling industry in general is very critical for the critical minerals sector in particular as well, right? So in India today, we import almost every single metal, and China is the biggest exporter for India. It's extremely important that we become Atmanirbhar in majority of these metals that we need for our defense procurements, for our EV sector, for our energy requirements, come what may, right? So recycling plays a very critical role in that aspect. The industry has been growing 100% year on year over the last few years. The government of India has been 100%. The government of India has been providing pretty solid incentive mechanisms. In the last budget, they announced a National Critical Minerals Mission, which is like a 32,000 crore mission. We are expecting this year the sort of momentum will continue. The government will continue to give fiscal incentives to the industry, will continue to do GST rationalization for the industry, and will make sure that India becomes self-reliant on these critical minerals.
Okay. And you're saying there's been enough and more policy help by the government, and 100% growth rate has been observed in the last 1 year. Are you looking at that number perhaps even going up as we adopt more EVs?
Absolutely.
As we move towards, in making more chips in this country, importing more critical minerals, do you think that number is only going to go up from here?
Absolutely. See, basically, Shweta, critical minerals are required in every walk of life, right? Whether your refrigerator, to your EV, to your space station. And for that purpose, this industry is a fundamental requirement for the country. It has to grow much faster, and it has to continue to grow over a long period of time.
Right, so number likely to only go up, 100% growth rate there as far as e-waste is concerned and the recycling is concerned. So absolutely. I think that also is a precursor to where India's economy is going when it comes to adopting more critical minerals related technology, AI, chip making,
all kinds of advanced and emerging technologies.
All advanced emerging technologies, and perhaps that will also decide the future of this country. That's the policy move in which the country is moving. Wow. Rakesh, let's come to that wish list now. I think you've worked very hard. It's your wish list. You've tracked budgets for many, many years. What are you expecting from this budget?
Well, I think, I put about 9 items. My first and foremost point is that the current environment, both the current environment, both politically and economically for India, is very, very strong to launch the real reforms that we've been talking about. Normally, India has a history of doing reforms when there's adversity. 1991, and the latest is EU FTA deal. It was triggered by the tariff tantrums of Donald Trump. It's been there since 2007. But now here's a historic occasion where we have everything right. Fundamentally our macros are straight, and in comparison to the rest of the world, our placement is very strong. So this is the best time to launch reforms.
Right.
So my first push is essentially for nudging the private sector to up its capex. Government of India has been, after the corporate tax cut, we have had been pushing the private sector, but there isn't a reciprocating response from them, whatever be the reasons. Now that we have an expanded market globally, there is an export capability. So I think the argument of the private sector that there isn't enough demand with EU FTA trade happening, with the UK happening, I think there is greater scope in terms of the identification of the market. So I am asking for the government not to play the police inspector, but at least audit the stated and announced projects by big ticket corporates. What is the status of those in terms of the capex launch? That's point number one. Point number two is that the 2 big ticket reforms which were rolled back despite the unprecedented political mandate, the farm law and the land reforms. Land reforms in the first term, Sood ki Sarkar, and then farm law because of the politicization of that. Remember, there is a lot of merit in bringing about those reforms. There is always talk of greater stakeholder management and engagement. We can launch that 6 months of stakeholder management, but go back and do those reforms. Coincidentally, you know, what has happened is that power sector utilities, which were essentially in the dump for so many years, some of them, about 8 states have shown recovery there. So there is a historic opportunity again, Shweta and Krishna, to launch farmers like individuals. There are individual tax slabs. So we need to identify farmers. There are rich farmers who need not necessarily get free electricity.
Right.
So, you know, if you want state electricity boards to function on their own feet, then we need to be a little more reformist about that. Some state boards have done it, and you know, it's a burden for the states to subsidize their free. So we need to take that big ticket. But whether the finance minister will bite the bullet, he mentioned about, I'm saying we need a national, you know, critical minerals and rare earth mission, and not just a slogan or a conference statement. It needs to be really matched for outcomes. Finally, I'm saying 2014, the Prime Minister talked about reducing energy dependence by 50%. 11 years, we're still nowhere there. And we've seen the vulnerability both in terms of critical minerals and energy. And going forward, the way Venezuela is happening, Russia is under pressure, India's dependence has to come down.
That's right.
And you know, we found a solution in Russia in terms of pricing, but we don't have a solution in terms of actually improving our own output. So that should be a mission mode. And you know, FPIs are flying like, you know, they're taking the flight as if they don't like
Flying
this
off
place.
India.
Flying off India. We need to bring about 2 things, make it little more incentivize their stay in here, which has to endure. And most importantly, we need a very, very stable tax regime. We've seen what's happened with Tiger Capital decision on Walmart. You know, there is no need to, sovereign interests in terms of taxation are most welcome, but we have to ensure that there is no retrospective feel to it.
Right.
That undermines the confidence of global investors, and that's what we are currently facing.
All
So
right.
I think, you know, we can go back to other 3 items
Absolutely.
later.